Hey everyone.
Hey guys.
Hi guys. Hope you are doing great. Can you hear us?
Hey man.
Hey Ben, you there?
Yeah. Hey. Okay. That thing.
Okay, so let's start with the presentation.
Mhm.
Okay, so today's meetup is about how to cut down your app development cost up to 5x. So let's get started with this. And my name is Udit, and
Hey, I'm Narek. Yeah,
so
both of us are on the same laptop today.
yeah. So we love building amazing software, and we like hanging out with smart individuals and discuss programming. So if you have any would like to talk to us after this presentation, we'd be interested. Okay. So to begin with, we want to highlight one of the major points that on average, 84% of IT projects fail, and only 16% of IT projects are ideally successful, which are completed within the same estimated budget, and estimated time. On average, like 33% of projects overrun their predicted schedule and almost 66% overrun their predicted cost. So this is a very alarming figure, which to understand why why IT projects fail primarily, and um, how we can ensure that your next IT project is successful. Right. So in the next 1 hour, we are going to walk you through importance of effective communication, what kind of team to set up to execute your project, and how to set up your team, and how to work effectively with your team. So all these factors are going to help you become more aware and take better decisions and ensure the successful delivery of your IT project. So software development is not manufacturing, guys. It's not repetitive process. Every time when you're building a software, you're creating something new. You're bringing a new product into this world. So let's look at some of these factors which are part of software development, and because of which you need to be slightly aware of this entire process, and be more inclusive in this process as a project owner. So software design is highly opinionated. Everyone has their own opinion of building a certain feature or functionality. So you should try to make sure that your design is perfectly ready before you hand over the work to your development team. And quality of software is again a very subjective stream. Every person has different quality standards, and hence quality check by a certain professional does not ensure that that particular software is meeting the quality standards as expected by the stakeholder or the project owner. So you should set your own quality standards for your project. And there are a lot of people involved with different skill sets in the entire life cycle of software development, and any contributor in that process can impact the progress of your software directly, whether it be designer or developer or uh, tester. So unlike manufacturing, it's not repetitive. In manufacturing, you create something one time and you just keep on repeating the same process, which is not the case with software development. And unlike manufacturing, it's easy to bypass steps, right? So there are a lot of novice developers who don't rely on design files or who just directly jump into programming without really paying attention to design and understanding how that software will scale in the future. So unlike manufacturing, in software development, it's extremely easy to bypass steps. And technology domain is extremely vast here. There are so many technologies available to help you build the exact same feature, but that does not determine the same scalability or same security. So you must be clear before the start of your project that how many users are actually going to use your software and what is the usage type going to be like to help you understand at what scale you need to develop this software. Yep. So uh,
Is there someone who wants to ask any question about this? I'll start talking about it.
okay.
Sorry, guys. We'll just change a few things because there is echoing from somewhere. Yeah, yeah. It's okay.
Okay.
Okay, back to presentation.
Okay. So here is a small illustration for you guys.
Yeah, I
And
think most of you found this in LinkedIn or somewhere. Like it's many people kind of were talking about this. Like it how customer is explaining what he needs, then the person usually from the side of the company or even from the same company, a project manager who is going to execute it, sometimes they understand something else. Then what then happens a lot that project manager and client are not on the same page, and this something else is being explained to designer or programmer, and as you see, miscommunication can lead to totally unexpected results. Like you can communicate one thing, like you have idea, I want something, I want this, but eventually like it's very hard uh, to know like what developers are going to deliver to you at the end. So
okay,
yeah.
so let me continue again. So this is a very interesting illustration here, right? You guys can see that customer, the way customer explained is completely different from the way, from what exactly customer wanted in the end. So you can see the first illustration is about what customer explained and the last illustration is about what customer really needed. So I believe that this illustration clearly speaks for itself, that customer himself or project owner himself is at fault here. If you would have properly communicated your requirements to the entire team and ensured that every person who is part of the software project has got proper understanding of this project, then I'm sure you would have got expected results. But as we can see, the primary problem on the bottom left is that the project was never documented. And this is the major case with most of the projects, especially the projects which are outsourced. Customers don't care to document their projects properly, and they just communicate it verbally, because of which the requirements are not effectively communicated. Like there's a lot of information loss in this entire process, and what you communicated may not end up being communicated to the person who is designing it or developing it. So let's look ahead at some of the problems that primarily few uh, people do when they start a new project. So first is trying to copy blindly. Have you ever, I mean, we have as software programmers, we and project as software programmers, we have come across a lot of clients who speak to us like, can you build me a clone of Uber? So that is a completely wrong statement, and you should never try to communicate your requirements in that fashion. Uh, the when Uber application was built, it was built iteratively based on their customer feedback, right? So the kind of feedback that the kind of feedback those guys received is not necessarily the kind of feedback you will receive from your users. So you should try to build your product iteratively and try to refer certain apps smartly. You should pick certain features and identify whether those features fit well for your customer needs or not. Second, the most primary reason for your project failure is miscommunication. And that miscommunication is because of lack of documentation. Either you're too lazy to document, or generally, most of these startup founders or project owners do not have that habit of documenting, of creating detailed documentation for their work.
And they rely on like a verbal kind of a communication. So they usually every time during meetings, since this is a common thing, like entrepreneurs are busy and they don't write requirements, and they rely on kind of telling everything verbally. But keeping everything documented is very, very important. Yeah.
Exactly. So the last one is no prioritization of features. Unless you prioritize, so there are going to be a lot of features in your application, right? So you need to release your app iteratively and understand what kind of features customers are interested in. So initially, you need to identify those specific set of features which are extremely crucial. So this is called MVP, basically minimum viable product, right? So you start uh, with the minimum viable features which are required in your product for your customers to begin with using your product, and then understand whether those customers are paying interest in those features, or you need to add new features to your product to attract new customers, or you need to improve upon certain features to retain those customers who are using, or you need to make sure that those features are more frequently used by the customers who are already using it, to make sure to increase the time they spend in your app. So before you start even the development work, you should make sure that you don't fall into these three traps. And so the final point is that have complete clarity about your requirements and communicate them effectively to your team. So let's look at some of the ways how people miscommunicate their some of the ways how to write clear requirements for your project. So we have created a minimalistic uh, template for helping you write clear requirements. So it's very simple. The first step is to clearly define the purpose of your app. So let's say if you are building Uber, how you would define it. So Uber is basically an application to help commuters find taxis in real time and pay them cashless, right? So in that gist, Uber is defined. So that's the purpose of that Uber app. So you must be very clear about the purpose of your own product as well. And after that, you must identify the types of users who are going to use your app. So in case of Uber, there are two types of users. One is the commuter who wants to find the taxi, and second is the driver who is going to uh, help that commuter reach to from location A to B, right? And once you have identified the users, try to identify similar apps in the market so that you can speed up your work of listing down the features. So like in case of if you're building a similar app like an Uber right now, so Uber is the app which you can refer to uh, and pick the important features from it which you want to put in your app. And the fourth one is list desired functionalities in priority order. So as we discussed in the last slide, why prioritization of features is important. So then once you have identified your users, defined the purpose, you must write down all the important functionalities and features that you want in your app. So Narek wants to communicate.
Yeah, and let's say once you find out, let's say, type of the users which are going to use your application, here the ideal way of communicating business requirements is how your application is going to be used. Like as a user, I want to click on the button, so some action will happen, then I will get this. So at the end, like end user, what is going to get after using a certain feature or functionality. So all those kind of and all possible ways of interaction ideally should be written down, and there is a template. When happens this, outcome is going to be this. So on that template you write a list of all features, uh, uh, and following the priority, and this is very useful kind of so people will know, other developers, those who are going to execute, like what end users are going to get and what kind of experience they should develop for that.
Yeah. So once you have written down the clear requirements for your project, the next step before starting the development work is wireframing. This is the most crucial part. You should never ever start the development work or even hire the development team or testers without wireframing unless you have completed the wireframing. So if you can wireframe easily by drawing screens on a piece of paper or napkin, or even you can use uh, tools like UXPin or Proto.io if you are tech savvy. There are a lot of times that you may feel that you are not the right person to do this job. So in case you are not, uh, if you are not able to wireframe, then you should hire a product designer, and you can hire a freelancer to do this job for you, so that once wireframes are done, you will have clear clarity about your application workflow and what features your application is going to have and how user is going to interact with your application.
Yeah, and wireframes are one of the best way to share requirements with the developers.
Yes.
So they will be very clear, like what is required.
So wireframing is going to help you to get the right budget and right timeline for your project, right? So it may be very simple for the development team to figure out how much time it's going to take to develop this project itself. Yeah. So before going to the development team or before outsourcing, make sure that you wireframe. Okay. So now the big question is, when should you outsource your app development and when should you do it in-house? So here we have listed out few scenarios where in which you should try to outsource your app development. So if you have low budget, right, or if you're trying to cut down your expenses, then you should outsource your app development. And in, if you do not have, primarily if you do not have any prior experience or expertise of building software, then ideally you should try to outsource, because it will be very difficult for you to hire a team and set it up in-house without having any prior experience. And if you want to start immediately within a week or within a month, then you should try to find outsourcing team, because finding or setting up an in-house team of 4 to 5, minimum 4 to 5 people, is going to take you at least 2 to 3 months. So it's better you go with outsourcing. And if there is a shortage of talent in your city, if there are not enough engineers in your city, or if there are a lot of competitive companies established in your cities which are paying extremely high salaries, which you are not able to match up to, then you should try to outsource. Now, the major question is people generally outsource when they want to cut down cost, right? So in that scenario, outsourcing to your own city, where the cost of living is going to be same as yours, is may not be the right option to outsource. So so you should try to outsource at offshore locations where the cost of living in those cities is less than what it is in your city. So let's look at some of the outsourcing options available to you. Uh, Okay, that part will come later. Let's figure out what kind of work you should outsource onshore and what kind of work you should outsource offshore. So here in the slide, we are showing that primarily you should have try to outsource your design related work onshore itself. Try to have your designers within the same city where you live in, because your product design is going to be heavily influenced by your vision. You're going to have uh, you will have to provide your personal inputs, and since design iterations are very small, like few hours or few days, it, you will be required to have more meetings with the designer. So if that designer is personally present within your same city or within the same time zone, it becomes easier to communicate frequently with your designer. So try to have your product design team onshore, but with your development, when it comes to programming, coding, and testing, so that can easily go offshore actually, because development iterations are quite longer. The sprints are minimum 2 weeks and can go up to a month also. So you need not have regular meetings with these people for updates. You can just have weekly updates, and rest you can communicate with them via other chat channels like Slack or Skype or anything. So yeah, with development work, you can easily go offshore and have your team present in countries like India, Ukraine, where the cost of labor is less compared to developed nations like US or Australia, right? So yeah, so now let's look at some of the outsourcing options that you have. uh, who all can you outsource your uh, app development to, right? So there are freelancers, independent freelancers who are located across the world, and they work with multiple. So freelancers are basically primarily people who can work on multiple projects parallelly. So they can be associated with you part time and can be associated with some other company as well. And then we have transparent remote teams, which are dedicatedly set up for you in affordable remote locations like India and are dedicatedly working for you. And then we have offshore software agencies, which are development shops which hire software professionals in house and outsource their work to you or other project owners. So now let's look at these outsourcing options individually and see where you can use these options in what situations and whether these apply to you or not. So freelancers, right? As I explained about freelancers, since they are going to be working part time for you, it's ideal that you hire these freelancers for short term work or short term period, like starting from a week up to 3 to 4 months. And if you have some quick requirement which you don't want to get fixed immediately, but you do not have resources available to you, then try to go with freelancers. Or if you need some expert advice, like software design or architecture, or what database to use, what technology to use, what technology stack to use for your project, then try to go with freelancers who are expert in this domain and have some experience. And UI designers, software architects, and testers are primarily most fit for freelancing job, because they're required for short amount of time in the entire software development life cycle. So if you have a software development life cycle of, let's say, 2 months, you would require product UI designer, let's say in the first week, then architects in the second week, and testers probably in the last week, right? But you would require your project manager, your development team for the entire life cycle itself, right? So these three roles are most fit, but you can hire anybody on freelance basis based on your requirement. Uh, Second is transparent remote teams. Now, this is a new term. It's not really thrown around regularly or very frequently. Generally, yeah, people, most of the agencies offer their offshore team setup, but this is something different than that. So here, what we are talking about is basically hiring individuals or setting up your team in offshore locations like India, which are dedicatedly working for you at their regular salaries. So if you go with an agency, they are going to they're not transparent enough to tell you what salary that particular individual is getting, and they have their own rates, right? But we're not talking about that. We're talking about a complete transparent remote team where you collaborate with that team directly. You are in direct contact with those professionals, and you know what they're getting, what their salary is, and you are exactly paying what they get. So transparent remote teams is a very efficient and affordable option for people who want to develop product iteratively, or at least who want the team to work for them for a 6 months. So in order to build an amazing product which will be loved by your customers, it is realistically it will take at least 6 months to build your product. So which is a fact which a lot of entrepreneurs are not aware of, and a lot of startup entrepreneurs and founders feel that it's too easy to build an app and they can just quickly build it within a couple of months and launch it and make a lot of money and raise funds. But that is not the practical scenario, and that's why you should be aware of that. That in reality, if you're building an amazing super app for your users, it will take 6 months and it will require good professionals and engineers to build it.
At least 6 months.
Yeah. So since you're not going to have direct presence in the offshore location, so try to collaborate with a local supervisor to hire and manage your team effectively for you. Uh, yeah. So, are there any questions? Okay, so let's move forward. So third option is offshore software agencies. So primarily here we are talking about small and medium agencies, which are a lot of them here in, uh, especially in countries like India and Ukraine. So primarily we want to bring this, we want to educate you about this uh, model where we don't recommend small and offshore, medium offshore agencies for product development. So I think Narek will take care of
Yeah.
rest of the
So
stuff.
the reason we do not recommend agencies is because only 10 to 20% of your budget is going to be spent on engineering team. So like I can just bring you an example, like if you still want to work with an agency, like you can go to a website called Clutch, right? And in Clutch, let's say uh, you can see like a list of service providers. Let's say I'll just search a service provider like this one. Yeah. So App Store. So generally, how this company works, and there are like bunch of companies like this. They have presence office in even in Australia and San Francisco, but execution team, people who are going to develop your application, they are based in India. And let's see the developers like, and you might get like I don't know, project, your budget might be like $200,000, $300,000, but people who are going to develop that, they get quite less. Like you can check in Glassdoor, let's say, uh, I think It's going to be in Appster's kind of a development team is based in India. And let's say if we go to salaries, like you will see like people who get, let's say, iOS developer, this guy will quickly convert salary to USD is getting like $500 a month. This one is getting close to $900 a month. So and if you see, like, imagine you are spending 100 or $150,000 on a project, and those are being executed by 3 4 guys who are getting like up to $1,000 a month. That means, like, if you assemble that team by yourself, you could uh, kind of have a bigger team or more qualified team for the same budget, or kind of since your requirements are going to change a lot, and that's a fact, that's why agile methodology is there. uh, like, you could keep them for a longer time, and because ideally you are going to get feedback from your clients, users, and incorporate them into your app. And initially you might plan something, but eventually you might end up with something else, having some totally different application. So you can see uh, in clutch agencies and the rates they charge, and there are even companies who charge, let's say, $3,000, $4,000 for a contractor who is being paid like $300 or $400 salary. So imagine if you hire that person directly, if there is an ongoing work for or something similar, you'd be kind of spending. You could hire for that person for like for 10 months or 1 year what you are paying for a month. So that's why uh, we uh, uh, we kind of are not suggesting to go with agencies. So you better go only with freelancers or build your remote transparent team. So and you know that whenever you build a team, those people are going to work for you only. Yeah. So here we have a big list of we kind of gathered a lot of data from Clutch, from Glassdoor, from Payscale, and we wanted to show this in one chart. So so you can see what is the um, what is the scene like in India, let's say. So so let's say if we go with if we take, let's say, big services companies, which are Accenture, Infosys, I don't know, Wipro, TCS, all these companies which have more than 100,000 employees. Some of them even have 250,000 plus employees. Average salaries of engineers in these companies is quite low compared to what you get charged. In average, they will charge $5,000 plus a month for an engineer who is going to get like $600-700 a month. So we segregated companies into groups. So big services companies are those which I mentioned. There are medium services companies which again charge really high. Like Appster is a medium-sized agency, charges $50 an hour plus, and but eventually their like salaries in that companies are quite low, since their development team is based in Delhi, if I'm not mistaken. And small services companies which charge like in average $20 an hour, but they deliver crap. The quality is extremely low, and with this and probability that if you are outsourcing a little bit sophisticated project, there is a high chances that it will just fail. You will They will not be able to deliver anything. So, and with remote teams, rates are exactly same like salaries. You basically just set up a team in countries based in Eastern European countries or in India or in Vietnam, and you just pay their salaries. That's it. And you get very, very high quality because most of the budget goes directly to engineering and not on marketing, sales, or operations. Yeah. So, so yeah. So pretty much. So here you can see the rates, like of we in India, like there are like a lot of companies, a lot of software companies, and so we can start with product companies, like how much good engineers get, that like those people who work on Google Chrome, who work on Gmail, who work on like the stuff which we use on a daily basis. Like there are like big offices of Amazon, Google, Microsoft, IBM, HP in India. Average salaries here are like 10 to $15 an hour in these product companies. And in big services companies like Infosys, Accenture, and IBM Global Services, like salaries are close to $5 an hour. And companies like Appster and SourceBits, similar companies, their average salaries are $4 an hour. And small services companies, they pay really less, and so quality goes down. So so with $12 an hour, since you directly pay to people, you can see you can hire a person like on a same level, like who works in with same qualification, like a person in Amazon, Google, Microsoft, or any other product company. Yeah. So we did a research like which uh, outsourcing destinations are good. And there is a company also who is specialized in doing that. It's called Tollens. You can get some like a good research material in Gartner or Forrester. They also had some nice research done in which places are good outsourcing destinations on a base talent and how much you are going to pay them. So top five are Indian cities based in India, and next comes Eastern Europe. So India is very, very big, and like India's population, if we take, is like South America combined plus North America plus Russia, UK, France, and Germany. So that's why you should know very, very well where you are outsourcing in India. If you see most of Fortune 500 companies who have back offices in India, most of them are based in the mentioned cities. Like HP has an IBM, they have a huge presence in Bangalore and Chennai. Like Amazon and Google are based in Hyderabad. So like that. Or Deutsche Bank is based in Pune, and with back office of more than 3,000 people working there. Yeah. So then, like why Indian cities are a good option of outsourcing. One of the reasons is that there is a lot of talent in India, and companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Adobe, or Oracle, they've been here for more than 20 years. Like if we take Bangalore, IBM, HP, and Oracle, they have a huge offices, and they were like here for a very long time. So those people are already kind of a trained, and there is not going to be a big communication gap while sharing your requirements. And since they already are working in a same ecosystem, so like talent is already quite familiar with work ethic, and everything is almost same, and and very unlike to Eastern Europe, English speaking talent is a very amount of English speaking talent here is very high. Yeah. So yeah. So Udit will continue on this thing. Yeah.
Okay. So now that when you are trying to hire, now you have decided to hire a remote team, and now that you are trying to hire a remote talent, you need to understand that working with a remote team is very different compared to working with an in-house team, right? So there are a few questions that you should answer before you decide to hire a person. First of all, qualification, look at his education, his past employment, talk to his colleagues or his past project managers about uh, how he was, how he fit in the culture of the company, and your personal questions. So try to do a background check if uh, possible. If not yourself, then take a help of local supervisor to do that. Secondly, make sure that the person has great communication skills. By communication skills, it doesn't mean that he's able to speak good English only. There are a lot of other factors that he should be good at. He should be able to understand what you're trying to convey. So try to have a couple of meetings with your prospect or your candidate, and try to have real-time conversation which you will have after 2 months with him related to the project, and try to see whether he's able to understand it easily or not, whether you both are able to communicate effectively and efficiently or not. So thirdly, find out whether that guy is passionate enough, whether he's learning new technologies or not, whether he is curious about latest trends in the market, and try to ask him what are the latest trends related to app development or website development, and try to see whether this guy is passionate enough or not, because it may happen that he may have to sometime work uh, uh, remotely, independently, individual, I mean alone. So there has to be a lot of passion within him to keep working productively. And finally, try to make sure if he's suitable for remote collaboration, and if he's proactive enough, and if he's responsive enough or not. So the person should be proactive enough to come up to you and bring up any issues which are blocking his progress or impacting his productivity. So try to make sure that this guy is quite proactive in communication. So yeah, uh, now that you have hired your team and you have started your project development, you need to make sure how to effectively collaborate with your remote team. So in this process of software development, try to make sure whether even you're collaborating with them remotely or in-house, make sure that everything is documented. Your communication should be entirely documented with your team. You should have either use a Slack channel, or which is very easy to communicate. And if and for like long-term requirements or for sprint planning, try to go with preferable tools which are available in the market. And for their task, for setting up goals, for setting up tasks, try to use some project management tools like Asana or Atlassian tools, and keep all the communication documented, and set clear goals for your team for the delivery of your project. Make sure that, but give them a freedom to determine how much time it will take to deliver a feature or a functionality, and then follow up with them regularly to uh, check with them if they are on the right track or not. Uh, so it may happen that
Ideally, once or twice a week, you should follow up with developers, and for the updates, if you set up a Slack channel, try to try to try to get updates on a daily basis, like
Yeah,
on what they work. So they will just update, like I'm working on like ABCD features and what issues they are facing, and what they accomplished like on a previous day. So
exactly.
you'll be on the same page every day.
Yes. So in the Scrum meeting, there is a process called daily stand up, where every person would communicate what got done the day before and what they're going to do currently today. So try to have that daily stand up with the help of Slack. There are a few bots available which will make this work easier for you. And third, try to remove any cultural barriers. So try to be very flexible with your team. Try to understand their family, where they come from, what their culture is. Try to mingle up with them and develop a strong bond with every member, and so that they feel passionate about working with you. And if possible, try to visit them or bring them on shore after every quarter or 6 months. And lastly, try to make efforts to help grow your team, help them learn new technologies, and help them advance in their career, show them the progress that they are making, give them good feedback. And yeah, so I think that's about effective collaboration with the remote team. So I think we're done with the entire thing. So in the end, I want to sum up that most of the IT projects are overrun by 66% compared with their estimated cost. So if you want to fall in the bracket of ideally successful projects which are within the estimated time and estimated budget, try to make sure you follow all these practices. Try to make sure that you have clearly called out all your requirements, you do wireframes, and then you identify the right set of outsourcing option for your requirement, and then you follow up regularly and effectively communicate with your team, whether it's freelancers or whether it's transparent remote teams or whether it's agencies. So if you have any questions, we are available here. We can take any number of questions right now.
Yeah.
Hey
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
we have Dave, we have Dan. So
Then
Dan,
yeah.
are there any questions?
Yeah. Maybe we can answer like
Can you
some.
open chat once?
Yeah. Right, chat. Okay. Yeah. So I'll give you guys. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So is there anything you'd like to discuss? Like on if you have some idea, or maybe we can help you with something. Not only us, but we are specialized in that. But sorry, I'll just read your question. So Len asked the question if the purpose of this webinar is to contact with us for assistance for projects. We can help you with that, but there are other companies also based in Eastern Europe, in Vietnam, so
India.
in India. Like yeah, we are very professional, experienced in this thing, and yeah, if you can contact with us also, but it's up to you. Like you can, yeah. Okay.
But the primary purpose of this webinar was to educate
Yeah.
project owners that what is the difference, what is the difference that you can get by hiring remote teams. I mean, a lot of people really don't consider this as an option because they do not know how to find people in a remote location. So this is the primary purpose that we want to educate you that you can cut down a lot of your cost by not going with agencies and by hiring your own dedicated remote team.
Yeah. So because like as you see like and this is something which kind of we give you a way to measure what we said, like data is available online, you can check um, kind of the difference.
Okay.
Uh, Anything else? Yeah. Okay. And then in that case, I think we'll be.
Yeah. So I think since there are no questions, so
Yeah, you can just ping us if you don't have any questions now. You can ping us kind of later. We are available on LinkedIn everywhere. You can call us, and we'll be happy to answer to all questions.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So you can refer to this video on YouTube. The link to this video is already there in the meetup.
Yeah.
So you can refer to it anytime later as well. And if you have any questions, then you can drop us message on meetup itself, and we will contact you back.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Okay. I won't copy this.
Yeah.